And, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast known as Qualified Immunity. Where two people from inside the system take on the system. My name is Greg Engel. I was a law enforcement officer for almost a decade. My co-host, his name is Lucas Cohen. He's a third-year law student at a very prestigious university with the hopes of one day becoming an assistant district attorney. That is a total lie. Lucas, say hi to people.
Hi, everyone.
So, today, this is going to be a short one because we're trying something new out. Like, right now, this podcast is being streamed live on YouTube and Facebook, and we're working the kinks out. Needless to say, we started 37 minutes late. And so this is probably only going to be about 30 minutes. That being said, we're getting there slowly but surely. Slowly but surely, we're getting there. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about something that I think was very, very disturbing. Because, to say the least, and I mean, you are to the point of, what the fuck?
Working out the kinks.
We're going to look back at it in 5 years and be like, oh my gosh.
What was it? Okay, so was it Einstein that said there are two things that are limitless, the universe and
human stupidity?
And I'm not so sure about the universe.
Yep.
So what happened today, Greg?
It happened... The story was published on July 12th, so it technically happened yesterday. Police in Pennsylvania, Allentown, Pennsylvania, are investigating an officer who appeared to put a knee on the neck of a person during an incident. This is human stupidity. Captured on video by at least one bystander that drew comparisons to the death of George Floyd. The Allentown Police Department is conducting a use of force investigation according to a statement released Sunday. The video of the incident on Twitter shows 3 officers on top of a screaming man. One of the officers appears to put a knee on the man's neck after trying to restrain him by other means. Attorney Ben Crump, who represents Floyd's family, shared the video of the incident on Twitter, describing it as exactly what led to Floyd's death. He called for police to identify the officer. I think at this point we all know the story of George Floyd. That being said, have they learned nothing?
Apparently not. I mean, George Floyd happened
on Memorial Day.
How long ago was that?
I
have no concept of time anymore. Was that
less than 2 months?
Yeah. And since then you've had constant protests, not just nationwide, I mean internationally, over that specific incident.
That's my point, though. It's like this is what blows my mind is they are having these protests day after day, day after day, day after day. And what's changed? They literally just did what they were protesting over. Like, what are we talking about here?
At what point do you say, maybe we should not do this?
But at what point do you... And I've said this before, and I'll reiterate it again, and I will say it again. I do not condone rioting or destruction of private property.
Certainly not violence.
I don't condone violence. However, rioting is the protest of the unheard.
The voice of the oppressed.
There is a lot of truth in that statement. And the problem becomes you and I both have friends that can't understand that.
Yeah.
But I go back to, this is more of a class warfare issue than it is anything else.
Yeah, this isn't just a race issue, which is...
But the problem becomes, the impoverished people in the impoverished communities in the United States are a majority what? Minorities.
Minority and poverty, unfortunately, tend to go together.
They do, and this becomes that issue of like, okay, what do we do now? I don't have a good answer for that outside of quit making so many dumbass laws. I really don't, man. I want to look and be like, here's the answer. I want to solve world hunger. I want to solve police brutality, and I want to make sure that we have world peace and we sing Kumbaya and we make it through fucking utopia together. But the more people add dumbass laws, with dumbass consequences, because 90% of them are monetary,
right?
And I realized I said this out of aggravation to you, I don't know, 6 weeks ago. The government is a business. They're a product of the laws, and you don't have a choice on whether you buy them or not. But it's true. Like, I said it out of just being like, Urgh. But at the same time, the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, that's the best analogy I've ever come up with for government. Everybody goes, oh, that means you're an anarchist. No, I'm not. I had a political consultant one time, and I've taken this as the greatest compliment of my life, I think, that said I'm the most libertarian person in the world that understands we still need roads. The problem is you've gotten to the point of they did $500 million damage in Minnesota, and apparently that memo didn't reach Pennsylvania. Apparently Pennsylvania doesn't have CNN.
How long did they stand on the guy?
It doesn't say, and I can't ever get the video to load because it's almost like the second the video loads, it's this is going conveniently.
But he didn't die.
No, he didn't die.
Was he injured? Do you know?
I want to say they got him. He was released from the hospital. Okay, so my question becomes: was he impaired though?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Like that brings up a whole nother.
So there were no life-threatening injuries.
Not that I can find.
Okay.
There's a lot of times there's no life-threatening injuries from somebody getting a shot in the arm either.
Right.
But I wouldn't want to do it.
But how many people have to die, and how many protests do we need to have before there's at least a change in policy?
Because they're not going to change the policy because they're going to be like, well, we didn't make the laws, we were just enforcing them.
Policy is made by the police department.
I understand that, but they're going to reasonable person standard. This all goes back to the reasonable person standard, and you know it.
So would the reasonable person stand on somebody's neck for 10 minutes?
I don't know. Would they? But then we're also going to talk about the theory of, I understand reasonable person, but there's a difference because one of them is trained.
Right. Yeah. And the reasonable person standard does change based on
qualifying factors.
Yeah. Certain circumstances. I have very little desire to practice tort law, so I'm not really...
I don't know how, why, because if I ever go to law school, you know exactly what I'm going to end up doing.
Yeah. But in some tort doctrine, if you're experienced and if you're trained, the standards change.
It changes drastically. Like, it changes on an entirely different level.
Right. So I don't know how this works out, but how many times do we have to do this?
How many times do we have to go over the fact that you probably shouldn't sit on somebody's neck before we get... And this is... The government is a business. The laws are the products, and you don't have an option on whether you want to follow them or not.
I know a lot of 2-year-olds that if they touch something hot, they're not doing that again. But you burned down a city.
You burn down a city, and it's like
nobody gives a crap.
Nobody.
That's not what you were gonna say. I know.
I mean, I'll say it. Nobody gives a flying fuck.
Yeah.
We are on a whole another level of stupidity at this point. Like, it'd be different if it was close but no cigar. It'd be different if it was, well, it kind of maybe sort of might have done this. But at this point, they did, on video, the exact same thing.
The really sad part is, I don't think I'm surprised.
I think it's more sad for me. I'm not either. I'm not either.
Like, they probably could have killed the guy. I would have been like,
shocker.
Yeah.
Shocker. Hey, at that point, it's...
Which is terrible.
Somebody needs to start fucking valuing human life before you value your process. How else am I supposed to say that?
Well, and you say that, and I think, why did you take that job in the first place?
To protect and serve.
I mean, most of
why did I do it?
Why did you do it?
Because I wanted to change the world. I wanted to change what people thought about cops. I really did.
Well, congratulations, you're doing it now.
But I'm not a cop anymore.
I know.
It's, and I think you can change it on a personal level, but you're never going to change it on a. You're never going to change it on an industrial level. Like, that's not the right word to say, but you're never going to change it on an industrial level.
You're not going to make industry wide.
Yeah, you're not going to affect change of an entire community.
And I suppose I can't fault you too much for wanting to change the perception of cops, because I grew up watching Adam 12. I thought, this is how cops should be viewed.
See, I grew up watching Andy Griffin.
Yeah.
That sheriff, I mean, love him or hate him.
Yeah.
He thought about it.
Yeah.
Like, love him or hate the guy, he thought about it.
Didn't have a problem keeping the jail keys 2 feet from the door.
No, he didn't. Like, it was one of those, the law says this, like, color of the law versus letter of the law. And we're going to have to do a whole episode. Once we get all these kinks out between Facebook Live and YouTube and everything else, we're going to have to do a whole episode on what color of the law versus letter of the law is.
Yeah. Because
police enforce the color, not the letter.
Yeah.
Courts decide things off the letter, not the color.
Well, and the legal term for what you're talking about is discretion.
Yeah.
And that's what those two shows had in common. They demonstrated that cops can exercise discretion, preferably for the better.
Yeah, and that's going to be the biggest.
But the way the system is set up now,
there is no discretion.
And if there is, it's in favor of.
It's in favor of the state, not the person.
Yes, it's in favor of privileged citizens. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Yeah. I knew I was going to get that reaction when I said that. I'm not talking about white privilege necessarily.
What?
It's wealth and privilege. Oh my gosh, Greg, come on.
You almost said it.
Well, no, I formed that sentence in my head and I thought, here we go. And then I went ahead and said it anyway, which was a mistake.
Because you know,
people are going to fly off the handle.
Oh, I know they're going to fly off the handle. Because I'm going to say this and they can fly off the handle and they can get bent later. White privilege exists. It's just class privilege.
Yeah, it's class privilege.
It's class privilege. What are most wealthy people in the United States? White.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong. What is 95% of lawmakers?
Old white guys.
Old white guys. What is 98% of lawmakers? Old white people.
Yeah.
And I'm white. I'm not saying something like crazy. I don't think it's crazy. I mean, it's statistical. We could go prove the statistics. But we're on a whole different playing field now because what's the number one spot in AA? Number one thing in AA, NA, whatever. The first problem of fixing an issue is admitting you have one.
Yeah. Admit you have a problem.
We have a police problem, not with the people who put on the uniform. I want to make that very, very evidently clear.
Well, and to be fair, probably about 45% of the population in the United States thinks, "Oh, we don't have a police problem." It's not a police problem. It's a people
That's because
problem.
they can afford not to think that.
I know.
They can afford to say we don't have a police problem.
Those people are predominantly.
They're predominantly boomers who are white.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hate to make this full disclosure. As of the current moment in time, I'm still a registered Republican.
Same.
I did not vote for Donald Trump.
Same.
That being said, the majority of those people that don't think we have a police problem are majority boomers and the majority white. They're also majority what? Republicans.
That being said, 45% of the population thinks, "Oh, we don't have a police problem." There's about 35%, I would guess, that think we have a police problem, and it's that the police are actually racist. Like, the people are actually racist. Like, they hate.
No, the human beings are not actually racist.
No,
they're not. I'm going to tell you that right now.
But there's a good section of the population that thinks so.
And the entire job of this show, of this podcast, going from here to eternity, and however long it takes for them to try and kill us, is to prove the human beings aren't racist.
It's the system.
The system is set up to disproportionately affect those in poverty, which disproportionately affects minorities. That it's you have to understand the whole idea behind systemic and systematic before anybody can even start to have this discussion. If you run at this thing with emotions, and if you want to see me get emotional, there's 2 episodes of this podcast that are nothing about Breonna Taylor, and you cannot have this discussion based off of emotions. How much scientific fact can you put into this? I don't know.
But we can at least talk about logic and philosophy.
And human nature. There's a big part of this. It's human nature.
Yeah.
It's like I've said before. You've got 2 contacts left. You know, if you go back to the station, your lieutenant or your captain or your chief or whoever's going to rip your ass. Like, why didn't you get this amount of contacts this month? Where are you going to go? You're going to go to the poor part of town that you know are going to have tag lights out, or are you going to go to the rich part of town that have beamers and lawyers?
And visit a mechanic every month.
Oh, yeah. And they have their service scheduled by their Alexa. Love it or hate it, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Apparently the cops in Pennsylvania don't understand that yet. And for some strange reason, that doesn't surprise me. I want to have my conscience shocked, and it keeps absolutely failing to do so. Like, show me the money. I mean, something's got to give. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it is. And I do not want it to be violent, because I've seen enough violence in my life that I never want to see anymore. But at some point, we have to admit there's a problem.
On the plus side, was it Minneapolis has actually defunded their police department?
So did Seattle.
Did they actually defund?
I think Seattle did it. No, here's the difference. Seattle defunded.
Okay.
So did NYPD. So did LAPD. Minneapolis disbanded.
Okay. Right.
Or in the process of disbanding.
Right. Which
that's going to be a cluster.
It's going to be interesting to watch.
Boy, that was a polite way to put it. That's going to be a cluster.
I saved that language for the law firm.
Like, that is going to be a wholehearted cluster. I'll tell you this would do. you get the flip side of Chicago. Everybody's all, oh, don't go to Southside Chicago. Okay. How much police is concentrated in Southside Chicago, and how much does it actually change? I'm not trying to be an asshole. I want statistics.
I don't know.
I'm gonna gather to venture not a lot. They're the strictest gun laws in the country. Chicago is a police state.
Well, how long has that actually been a joke? I mean, that's been a joke for
decades.
As long as I can remember.
Decades. Chirac. That's been a joke since 2003.
Yeah.
More people were killed by gun violence, which is not the gun's fault, it's the people's fault. But more people were killed by gang violence and gun violence in Chicago in 2003 than U.S. service members in Iraq. Chirac. They are literally in a totalitarian police state at this moment.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody that doesn't know this yet, you will learn this about me throughout. Hopefully, as long as you stay with us. I'm a massive LA fan. Am I not?
You're a massive fan of what LA used to be, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because last March or April last year, I was in Santa Monica. And I think I told this story before, but I was going to go crack a beer on Santa Monica's beach. It's something like $1,900 fine if that happens. Like, it's something like a $1,900 fine if that happens.
But so much money.
I had just come from Vegas, where in Vegas, you can walk down the street, you're golden. Like, nobody cares what you do in Las Vegas. Don't kill anybody.
Yeah, you can literally walk down the street in Vegas snorting coke and nobody will.
Nobody cares. Oh, I'm out of like, I can't anymore.
$2,000.
Because it was an environmental crime, it was a public alcohol crime. It was like, oh yeah, like it was one of those no alcohol or glass bottles allowed on beaches kind of thing.
Although in the wrong part of LA, I mean, that's like a month's rent, a week's rent.
In the cheap part of LA, that's a month's rent.
Yeah.
Because I remember jokingly looking at apartments in LA.
I've been living in Oklahoma too long.
It's like $6,000 a month.
Holy moly.
Downtown apartment in LA was like $6,000. And they went up. Like, they had $8,000 a month apartments for like 3-bed high rises. Like, what do you have to do to afford $8,000 a month? Sell drugs. Oh, wait, that's illegal. Just what do you want me to tell you?
Sell drugs in Vegas and then live in LA.
That's actually a huge thing.
I'm not surprised.
That's and the amount of human trafficking that runs from Tijuana through San Diego through LA to Vegas.
I mean, human traffickers are trash, but drug dealers I don't particularly care about.
The problem is the drug dealers are becoming the traffickers now.
Yeah.
And the other side of that is if the police catch you, they'll just stick a knee on your neck for like 8 minutes. I can't not help but make fun of this. This is the most fucked situation I think I've ever possibly seen in my entire life. Everybody's just like, eh. Like, even law enforcement PR people are like, eh.
Well,
no, there's no well to that.
I keep telling you this, and I keep telling other people this. It's just gang warfare. That's what this is. That's all it is.
Yeah, and I made the comment last night. I've heard it from other cops. The bruise.
Yeah.
It's bruise warfare. Black versus blue.
Yeah.
Which is the most fucked comment. No, it's not the most fucked. That's the sad part. It's one of the most fucked comments I ever heard in law enforcement. Ever.
Like that old meme. Government doesn't like competition. Don't do drugs. Don't take people's money.
Yeah, they don't like competition.
And apparently don't kill people.
That was 50-50.
It's fine if the government does it.
It's fine if the government does it. Okay, on that note, we're gonna wrap this one up because this is gonna be a short one, and we were testing out different things, and I saw the story about the cops in Pennsylvania. I just couldn't.
His name? Do we?
No, I don't. We don't have a name
Was
yet.
it not in the news? Okay.
I don't have a name yet.
I guess he didn't. Nothing severe.
Yeah, nothing severe happened. But still,
could have come close.
It probably was. Ladies and gentlemen, you can follow Lucas on Twitter at @TheLucasCohen, and that is all the social media he has because he lives in a black hole.
I also occasionally get banned from other social media, so I'm kind of giving up.
He's been banned from 2 different social media platforms in a week. Which is really sad, knowing the inflammatory shit I say on social media.
All I did was say something about human trafficking not being okay.
Don't mess with the elite's business. Oops. My name is Greg Engel. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Greg J. Engel, Jerry G. J. I-N-G-L-E.
You spell that so fast, and you have so many accounts. It's ridiculous.
Oh, I know. Oh, you can also follow me on Twitch now.
I don't know how you have a life.
I don't have a life. You know the running joke. My wife gets 15 minutes a day.
It's not much of a joke.
It's really not like the. I had to pull. Okay, one more story, then we're done. So we're driving today to go check out the windshield, right?
Oh yeah.
I had to pull.
Greg had some windshield damage, hailstorm.
Yeah,
it happens.
Fairly
common in Oklahoma.
Massive hail damage. I had to pull over.
From what I saw, you're lucky to be alive.
That's what somebody else said today. Like, if that would have gone through, it would have killed you.
Yeah. Would have been hospitalized at least.
I wouldn't be doing a podcast right now.
Anyway.
On
your way to get that fixed.
I had to pull over and let her drive.
Why?
I had too many notifications coming through my phone at one time. Like, I literally was like, you gotta drive.
Mr. Popularity.
It was I made one comment on one Facebook post. Anyway, this is 27 minutes. This is short. It's generally an hour, but today we're just testing stuff out. I had to get it out there of, do people not learn? Anyway, like, subscribe. This podcast is on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and I think about 5 more. And follow us on social media. We have a Facebook page, Qualified Immunity Podcast. With that being said, we are going to end it with a favorite quote of my favorite music festival in the entire world, as I do every day. Live today, love tomorrow, unite forever. Go Valhalla, guys. Zoom call. In like 20 minutes, 10 minutes. Okay. Wow. Okay, I've got to figure this out to have this down here because I forgot there's comments.
That's a lot of comments.
Yeah. I'm not getting 2 phones again. All right. Love you. Kids are back. Bye.